Pay me, pay me, pay me my silver now. Pay me or go to jail. Pay me my silver now.
RoadToRooter.com, Silver Quickie, and then get into some other stuff. They were able to push the price below $50 again. Huge mistake. The entities, the main entity that is taking all the silver off of all the exchanges, loves this shit. Loves it. And I'm going to show you something that nobody's talking about. I kind of hinted at it yesterday. I've been tracking the India imports of silver for 4 years now. I probably should have been tracking it for all 25 years I've been doing this, but for the past 4 years, because it's so much more important than it used to be now. What if I were told to tell you that India imported in October in dollar terms, the largest amount of silver by far that they have ever imported? Even by dollar amount, even larger than the 2024 month when they did 76 million ounces. This is not chump change when it comes to physical silver. This is the real deal. This is the end game. But before I do that, for private road members, I posted the Ted Butler analysis of what's going on right now and the Ted Butler way of looking at it on the private road at roadtoroad.com, along with Secrets on the Road to Road. It's right there at the top of the private page. And at the end, I'm going to give you guys a little sneak peek into what our friend Jenny Moonstone said a month ago about what's going on, what's really going on at the LBMA. For private road members, just scroll down, you'll find Jenny there. All right. So my claim is that India knows it's over. They have stopped, chasing the moving averages. They're just buying. Any kind of dip, they're buying massive amounts. Look at this. Indians bought so much silver, gold and silver, it skewed India's trade math. India's gold and silver purchases hit record levels in October, sending imports soaring and sharply widening the trade deficit. A surge in festive and pent-up demand pushed gold imports up threefold and silver imports up sixfold, driving the deficit to $41.7 billion. Indians snapped up record quantities of gold and silver in October, sending precious metals imports soaring and sharply widening the country's trade deficit. Gold imports rose threefold to $14.7 billion in October from $4.2 billion a year earlier, while silver imports increased six times, fueled by strong festive season demand. It's strong demand festive season. That's not what's going on, though. And a surge pushed gold imports up 21%. The buying spree came at a cost. India's trade deficit jumped. Well, who cares if they have a trade deficit if they're taking real value, real money in, like gold and silver? If that's a problem, if people don't like that India has a trade deficit, that's a great problem to have for India. For the rest of the world, they're blind. They should be doing the exact same thing. Somebody kind of questioned where I got my Indian numbers, so I'm going to show you where I got them. Right here. This is from the Indian government. It's the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Commerce, that I get this data from every month. Anyway, here it is right here. Silver, very last one. Silver, $2.7 billion. This is in U.S. dollars. $2.7 billion in silver was imported, up 528%. That is one hell of a lot of money and silver. Now remember, the price of silver right now, this isn't the largest import in terms of ounces. That was done in 2024 in February. In that month, they took in 76 million ounces. That's the largest by far in history. And there was one in 2023 for about 60 billion ounces. So this is the third largest in history. Amount of silver imported by India. And it's not stopping. And I've told you guys yesterday that this is the third month in a row that the amount of silver imported into India has doubled. Are we going to see a fourth? Well, with this latest smash under 50, that's India buying territory. We could see 70 million, 80 million ounces, 90 million ounces. Will they double again? Will it be 120 million ounces? It sounds so weird to say because, the LBMA is crying about not having 50 million ounces last month. And here's India importing 57 million and doubling every year for the past 3 months. Are they going to double again to 120 million ounces? It won't affect the price, by the way. The price of physical silver is completely divorced from the price of silver that you see quoted in the news. That's the derivative price. This is the end game. I've been screaming to everybody. It will be physical silver. That will be the end game. So, yes, there are investors in India that are being told the right thing, that, hey, silver is extremely valuable for your dowry season and the festival season and all that. But that's not really what's going on in India. They have made announcements. They are going to be just like China. They are putting massive amounts of money into building their own solar panels. Why are they doing that? There's so much overcapacity. China has 90% of the solar manufacturing capacity. Why are they doing it? Because they want to destroy the silver cabal. I think ultimately that's it. But they also know that the more solar panels they make is like a savings account in the long run. So you can have this energy working for you. Right now, solar is the cheapest energy to install on a massive scale because the panels are so cheap, because the price of silver is so cheap. What do you mean, Bix? The price of silver doubled. It's ridiculous how cheap the price of silver is. At some point, we're going to melt down all these solar panels that are going in, but it's not going to be to like $1,000, $2,000 silver, which could be next year. It could be at any moment, truthfully. You shut down the comex. Here's the problem. We all saw, my light went out. We all saw how the LBMA ran out of silver. They ran out of silver, so they had to get it from the comex. Now the comex is now low on silver because most of the silver in inventory is pledged to the exchange, to the ETFs. And it's not much, by the way. And they are, I do think they are being naked shorted. You think about an ETF, and it's ETF like run by BlackRock. It should be illegal. It is illegal for them to short that. But they already admitted to shorting it, using it as the definition of their short. Hold on, let me get my light back on. What am I doing here? All right. The definition of their short, the excuse, you have to give an excuse to the regulators. It doesn't matter what the excuse is, you got to give an excuse. I believe it's Citibank that is the official short for SLV, because they were sitting with derivatives, the derivative short position with JP Morgan as the long for 3 years. And we pointed that out. And then the CFTC, or actually it was the OCC, the Office of Comptroller of Currency, hid those numbers when they put silver and gold together. So we can't figure out what's going on there anymore. And that was done by a JP Morgan guy who happens to be the head of large financial institutions at the OCC, the Office of Comptroller of Currency. His name's something Coleman. You can go to the OCC website and see he's an ex-JP Morgan. See, they're not even ex-JP Morgan. Who is Caroline Pham? The only person at the CFTC, she's from Citibank. And at the OCC, he's from JP Morgan. You see how captured our government is? These are the regulators, too, supposedly. So anyway, yes, silver is front and center. India will not stop buying. They need the silver for their solar panels. Their people are starting to figure out, holy shit, silver is more valuable than gold. And when the rest of the world finds out that silver is more valuable than gold, there will be literally, it's going to be one day, all of a sudden, everything stops. And that's when the game's over. And that's when Trump can finally say, the Epstein stuff, why we were holding it back was that it would have destroyed the financial system. But here it is, since the financial system is already destroyed. Here are the 20 plus employees of JP Morgan senior management and board directors who were knee deep in the Epstein stuff. And more. And here's the governments that they bought. And here's the people that they controlled, but no longer. That's the end game. But you also lose your checking account, your savings account, your 401k, your IRA. It's so important to get your assets in your own possession right now. A lot of people say, Bix, I can't get it out of my IRA, my retirement accounts. Well, you can go to, you can't get it all the way out, but you can get it close to you, and you can be in charge of it. So you decide if you want to give it to the government if they try to confiscate. Go to affiliates on roadtoroot.com. The very first one, Unbound Assets. That's our friend Will Lair's new company. He's been doing this for over a decade, helping people with self-directed IRAs. So you can get your assets in your own possession or close to your own possession, such that when the shit falls apart, you can get them instead of having some company say, sorry, everybody fell apart. It's not my fault. The guards ran off with your metal. I'm sorry. Now is not the time to own mining shares or ETFs. All right. Moving on. So we got silver, again, slammed down right here, under $50. This is great base building. Clearly something, starts to go sideways at $48. But look at the moving averages. Let me show you the moving averages. And this is the only thing that India used to buy off is the moving averages. And these are the moving averages, the blue line and the yellow line, or gold line, shall we say. The gold line is the 100-day moving average at $43.42. I mean, literally, remember just like 6 months ago when we were talking about, oh boy, can silver ever go over? Well, let's take a look. Where was silver? Back here. In April, we were like begging for silver to go over $30 because we knew once it hit 30, it's going to run. Yeah, it took 6 months, but look where it ran to. It went from 30 to 50. And then it stalled. And this is all done on computer programs, my friends. This has nothing to do with physical silver. India finally found that out and started buying right in here. Really in September, August, September, October, every month has been double the amount. So, yes, this last October is 57 million ounces. November will probably be, with this latest slam down, we got right in here. November 1st started right here. So there was a jump up to 53 and a slam down. I would expect the Cabal to lose another 60 million, maybe even more. And then next month is a delivery month. And that's going to be the mother of all mothers. Where are we right now? Interesting that today or yesterday there was no silver, zero silver that stood for delivery. But in reality, there's still 47 contracts hanging out. So we're going to get some. There's only, after today's Friday, the month ends the Wednesday before Thanksgiving on the comex. So that's when they got to get rid of all their shorts. It has to be net zero. So it has to be delivered or paid off, these 47 contracts. It's not a lot, but it's the concept of, okay, what happens in December? How many contracts are going to stand for delivery in December? Now, right now, open interest has it at about 48,000 contracts, almost 49,000 contracts. 50 is, it's 5 times 5. It's 250 million ounces. But remember, how does the criminal cabal work? They roll over. Every month they'll roll over. You look at the derivatives in silver on the OCC data, it's all like the massive amounts, ridiculous amounts held by JP Morgan, Bank of America, and Citibank. Those are the three big ones. They're held on the books all at 1 year and below duration. And the OCC tells us that. And that's crazy. So they play this roll it over month to month and try to straddle the months and then rig it certain times during the month so that they can make money and then let it run at certain times with their derivatives. It's all derivatives. There's no physical gold traded on the COMEX. There is a delivery option, but they can always pay in cash, which I think they will going forward. So, again, we'll get to this Jenny Moonstone discussion. She really did lay out what's going on at the LBMA, and there hasn't been a solution. And this will run through January. There's been a short-term agreement, but no solution. And there is no solution. So India knows this is the last time you're going to get any silver for a very long time. If you're really going to build out this program, you're going to need a couple 100 million ounces in your reserves to make the silver paste to make the solar panels. And that's exactly what they're doing. Interesting that yesterday, Thursday the 20th, the open interest usually at the end of the year just literally crashes out and they close out and they roll over to the next month. Less than 5,000 contracts were rolled over. I thought it would be 8 to 10,000 contracts. So there's 3 days left that they can play their games. So they're going to have to do over 10 million ounces roll. 10,000 contract roll to get it down to something. They want the amount of silver. I think they want it below 7,000 on the first day of open interest on the first day of delivery for December, which is Friday of next week. So it's actually in November when the notification happens. And then you have the deliveries starting at Monday or Tuesday. But the notification is the key. Those are the guys who say, I'm going to stop this contract, meaning I have a long, I'm standing for delivery. And we'll know that number, at least the beginning of that number, and then they can add up to double throughout the month. So I think it's going to be under 10,000 contracts, which is under 50 million ounces, probably 35 to 40 million ounces is my guess, based on history. But you never know. We might have a massive month. But I do expect to see this go down today, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So we're probably looking at my guess is going to be 7,000 contracts, 35 million ounces on day one, and then they'll add another 35 million to get us to 70 million ounces. And it's funny because that used to be unheard of, but last month they did 57 million in a non-delivery month. It's not all India, obviously, but people are finding out that, oh my God, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. That's going to be everything going forward. Everything. If you have SLV, PSLV, any ETFs, any mining shares, get out. Any shares, anything held by a third party, get out. We'll see what happens though, right? Hang on to your hats. All right. A couple things to note. We had, again, no silver called for delivery today, which is odd. Not even one contract. For the month, we're at 3,852, and then you add on, which is about 39 million ounces, and then 19 million ounces, and then you add on the 1,170, it's a little over a million for the micro contract. That micro contract came out like 3 years ago or something. It's for smaller players. The vast majority of what trades and what exchanges hands on the comex, vast majority, is the bullion banks, trying to eat each other with customers. But a lot of this is ending up in India now, as proven by what's going on. And it doesn't necessarily mean that they buy it in the United States and it gets shipped to India. A lot of it is bought at the LBMA, which is supposed to be the physical side of things, and then brought to India and China. And I don't know if Russia's allowed to trade in the markets. But here's what I'm looking at now as far as December. I'm more excited about December than November now. All year, Wells Fargo has been the deliverer. JP Morgan, obviously, and Wells Fargo. JP Morgan usually takes more than they deliver. But some of the stranger things, like Citigroup, which never goes into the market, had to get 5.5 million ounces last month. And it was like, why Citi? They're not a big player. Well, they're the big short on SLV. So they had to get the 10 to 1. These 5.5 million ounces had to go into SLV last month. And which SLV, if you look at my private road discussion yesterday, I talk a lot about what's going on with the physical side. That the old way is over. The old way to rig markets using the moving averages, clearly that's done. Because everybody and their mother, especially India, is buying way above the moving averages. We'll never go back to that, at least on the comex, which I think will shut down hopefully by the end of the year. But I don't think it'll happen by the end of the year, and Jenny didn't see that happening either. People laugh at me. They laugh at me about a lot of things, mind you. Of course, they never look at my research and all that. I take information from everywhere. I'll go to the mainstream media. I even go to Jeff Christian and Metals Focus and the Silver Institute and take information and process it my own way. And so the Jenny Moonstone stuff, Jenny's an amazing tarot reader, intuitive, psychic type of person. She doesn't know financial markets, but she comes up with amazing calls that have helped me form like timing stuff, especially. I get so excited. She says, it's not going to happen yet. But it's funny because there's a famous saying that millionaires don't believe in psychics and tarot readers, but billionaires do. I absolutely hold that to be true. Unless you take in information from everybody, you're not going to know the true picture at all. And people have shat on my gold in the Grand Canyon things without even looking at any of my evidence. Famously, Jim Willie said, there's no gold in the Grand Canyon. I've slept on those beaches. The jackass proved himself that time. And then I had a debate with Steve St. Angelo, I think it was, about gold in the Grand Canyon. I showed him all the evidence, and he's like, because he was giving me so much shit. And ended up, he's just sitting there going, blah, 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 blah. Go check that out. It's still, you can go to Road to Ruta and look up the Grand Canyon gold debate. It wasn't much of a debate. He had no facts. The ridiculousness of what he said was, I don't know. It's like people talk a great story on the internet, and then you get them face to face in a discussion or a debate, and they just completely crumble if they don't have their facts, and they don't. And I did. I've been studying this a very long time. Anyway, okay, back to this. Here's what I'm looking for, and this would be really cool if it happens. I mean, cool to look at, because we're looking at December. We know there's huge pressure on physical silver, and this is the last physical silver delivery month on the comex for this year. So I wanted to go back to last December. What happened last December? Who was it that panicked and got all the silver? And they still show the last December on the comex or the CME delivery data. So you want to know who panicked? Well, J.P. Morgan's always the big taker in December. So I expect to see J.P. Morgan taking a lot more silver than they're delivering. But it's in their customer account. But look at what happened last December. Bank of America had to pony up 15 million ounces last December. And B of A was never, again, just like Wells Fargo, they were never in this game. And they're regretting everything they did. What B of A did was do massive leases, less than 1 year leases from J.P. Morgan Chase of their 1.2 billion with a B ounces of silver, of physical silver that J.P. Morgan had accumulated when they were rigging the silver price from 2008 to 2014. That has been proven. And Tep Butler's supposition, because he was looking at inventory reports over and over again, he said, well, that's what they're doing. They shorted the comex and then took delivery of metal secretly from all over the place, from the LBMA, from the comex, even from the U.S. Mint. They were an authorized participant for themselves, and they took massive amounts of that silver. Now, I don't know if they've transformed that silver from Silver Eagles into the 1,000-ounce comex bars. Could be. I don't know. Yes, it sounds like a massive waste, but they were getting them at cost. Remember, if you're a authorized participant getting directly from the mint the Silver Eagles, you're not paying those big premiums. You shouldn't be paying any premiums legally, but they still charge a little premium. All right, that's pretty much what I wanted to say. I will be doing another. Here's a little snippet from the Jenny discussion that I had about the LBMA last month when everybody was freaking out. And this is kind of like behind the scenes. She can give you a picture, and then you fill in the blanks that you don't understand or that she doesn't understand. I mean, she's not an expert on LBMA inventories and what the Cabal is doing, but she is an expert on tarot cards reading. Get this feeling, and then I interpret it. That's why it works so well and has worked so well. Anyway, check out what she had to say when we were talking about the LBMA and the literally running out of silver last month.
Okay, so is there a resolution? What is the resolution? So we have the Empress, strength. We have the Four of Wands reversed, which is conflict with the team, conflict within, and basically where there isn't necessarily a resolution. They really just have to accept it and move forward. So the Five of Cups reversed is like there's nothing that they can do to actually fix it. Like there literally is nothing that they can do. The Empress in the strength card is almost when you appeal to some kind of power, you appeal to the Empress, and she's like, I mean, she's true value too. So we're not talking about, what do you call it? Derivatives?
Yeah.
Okay. That, which to me, in my mind is the opposite of the Empress. She's not, derivatives are not truly valuable, right? Or they, not really. But the Empress is like physical. This is the product. This is like what we have to deliver. And the strength card is almost like there's the resolution here is to appeal to some kind of higher power. And I don't mean the divine. I mean the person or people that are really in charge, and basically ask them to accept it.
Okay.
They're basically begging for a break.
But is there a break given? I mean, it doesn't sound like a resolution.
No, it doesn't. Eight of Wands. Yeah, this is like when you sent out a big SOS. Princess of Wands, the Moon, some kind of, so it's really not a solution. This is an attempt to, this is almost an attempt to create like a distortion or a distraction, or even send out a panic signal is what this is. This is like SOS.
Help.
It's really weird because it really does feel like there isn't anything that they can actually do that they haven't already done. Do you know what I mean? So they're just sending out a signal, asking for some kind of help. Possibly I don't like the Moon, because this is a very manipulative kind of energy. And it's like an act, like some kind of it's distorted. It's totally distorted, but it's a signal that somebody sends out, almost like asking for a lifeline, or like asking for some kind of, help us.
And that's exactly what happened. They said, we need silver. We need physical silver. And the world drained a lot of physical silver and sent it to the LBMA. But it's not a fix of the problem, clearly, at least from Ginny's understanding. And that gives you kind of an idea of how I work with Ginny. And then I take that information and translate it into the financial side and the comex trading side. It's really an interesting process. And then I plug it into everything else I know. So again, to understand the silver market, you need everybody's take on everything. That's why I use Ginny. That's why I look at Jeffrey Christian's stuff, the Silver Institute stuff, Metals Focus stuff. In this latest one, Secrets on the Road to Ruta, I really dive into the Metals Focus latest discussion on silver and just how fraudulent it is. And they have, you guys are going to crack up. At this point in time in the year, they have the amount of silver going into solar panels and it's going down 5%. I'm like, in what fairy tale world do you guys live in? First of all, we're going from perk to TopCon. That hasn't been fully done yet. Second of all, we were up 65% in solar. What are they making solar panels with no silver anymore? It's just ridiculous. It's actually very criminal, if you ask me, because they know. I've talked to the guy that runs Metal Focus. He knows how much silver is going on. He's not an idiot. But he also knows who does he work for? Who does the Silver Institute work for? And they don't want chaos in the markets. Otherwise, the rest of their 10 years of analysis will be exposed as the fraud that it is. I mean, if you look at the Silver Institute and Metals Focused, just go to on Road to Ruta. This is on the public side, the front public page. Go check it out. Right here. All those red boxes are historical data that the Silver Institute and Metals Focus had to go back and change to make it look like they're not using that much silver. It's ridiculous, and I busted them on it. Nobody cared. It's like the India data last month of 57 million ounces coming into India. Nobody cares. It's insane, this whole silver thing. And for people, I drug this into people. I dragged them into silver because they were doing cryptos. Obviously, you're happy about silver, but we haven't even hit close to where we need to go to have a freely traded market. And that's all I'm asking for. You can't have a freedom without free markets. Who wrote that song? Oh, I did. That's right. Anyway, crazy days, my friends. I'll be doing more private road stuff this weekend. So if you want to join the private road or you want to get just free emails, go to roadtoruta.com. click on subscribe today. Check out our affiliates where you can get your retirement transferred over to a retirement that you control and close to your possession, as close as you can come. And then currently we're giving away one Veritasium token with every private road discussion. As far as what's going on cryptos, it's another Trump administration slam. That's my take. Cryptos, just like the silver market, gold market, the stock market, is rigged. It will end. You're going to want certain cryptos in your own possession because it'll end, and then all of a sudden, within like 3 days, it'll go up 50%. And you're like, oh my God, I wish I had gotten in. But yeah, Trump did this in 2017 as well. And the head of the CFTC, Christian Carlo, admitted that the Trump administration had to bring down cryptos. That's the same thing that Trump's doing right now. He's talking out his ass. He says, oh, we're going to make cryptos do this. And on this side, he's like, let's take it down. So yeah, Trump's one of the biggest manipulators out there. That's the world we live in until we have free markets. I get why he's doing it. There's a huge pedo cabal. That's the base of their money now. And that's why they're, so bravo, but, good cryptos are being taken down in the meantime. As long as you're not leveraged, as long as you can just sit and wait it out, hodl, you'll do just fine. And my number one pick is Theta Fuel right now. And you have to have some Veritasium. Because we get closer and closer to the end game. And, I talked to Grok the other day, a great discussion about what will happen if we have a financial collapse. Obviously, a lot of the cryptos will just go away. XRP, for example. I mean, the whole meaning of XRP is to assist in the banks to move over to a different, faster system than the SWIFT. Well, if there's no banks, there's no need for XRP. And that's the people who invest in XRP. I'm like, come on, people. Why did you get in cryptos? To get rid of the government, get rid of the banks. At least our earliest stuff. But that's the thing, too. If we do have a financial collapse, we won't know the price of Bitcoin. Bitcoin will probably go to zero on the exchanges. The exchanges won't even be open. And there's some decentralized exchanges, but most people don't even hold the crypto in their own possession. And the big entities, the corporations that all the crypto people go, oh, it's so great, these corporations are getting in. Well, they're going to have to, by law, liquidate all their assets, including probably number one will be their crypto assets. Maybe we're seeing that right now before the big crash comes. And it is coming. We do have a 4-day weekend coming up next week, and we know the FDIC, if they're really planning on the specific day, the FDIC said they need at least 3 days to try and sort things out. They've got a plan. Will it work? I doubt it. I mean, and the number one bank to watch as far as going down, I'd say number one and number two. Number one is by far the head cooperator with Jeffrey Epstein would be JP Morgan Chase and the board of directors and senior management, over 20 individuals, with 14 individuals going over to Epstein's house in New York. And I talked about that quite a bit lately. Go to Wall Street on Parade for all the information. Just do a search for Epstein, and it's all there. And they get all their information from court filings and things like that. So this is not a surprise. The only surprise is the moronic mainstream media that sit there and ask Trump questions. Why don't you ask Trump this question? It has been shown that there's over 20 people within JP Morgan senior management involved knee-deep in the Epstein stuff, including business partners on the board. Why is nobody talking about that? And you've got 1,000 survivors of the Epstein situation. I mean, everybody knows who they slept with, who they were forced to sleep with, who were they forced to give massages to. 1,000 women did not just massage Jeffrey Epstein, my friends. So yes, JP Morgan is knee deep, and I think that's the main reason they're not releasing all this information. And now it says 30 days. Supposedly from like the 15th, it's going to be 30 days till Trump releases the information. Pam Bondi said that. Well, 30 days of scrubbing, who knows what's going to be there? They're going to release the stuff they want to release. Although I do think Trump was the actual whistleblower on the first Epstein arrest. It coincides with Virginia Giuffre, who was actually a friend of Trump's, or his father they both worked for Trump. And Virginia was one of the main outspoken ones, and she committed suicide, supposedly, recently. So, yeah, it probably was Trump who turned in Epstein. I don't know how deep he was in that stuff, though. They were clearly social hangers-on, and Trump clearly knew what was going on. And they're trying to remove the whistleblower information. Well, that would be Trump. So you're going to get stuff without anything Trump. But if you put in the whistleblower information and say, yes, it was Donald Trump that turned in Epstein back in 2004 or 5 or whenever that was, because he was stealing, Trump called it stealing employees. Well, Virginia was the one. Her father was head of maintenance at Mar-a-Lago. And, Trump and the Trump guys that's probably the hardest job running a Trump building, being maintenance. And Trump was good friends with that guy. So, yeah, there's lots of shit going down. Anyway, that's what I got. Go to roadtoruhr.com for more deeper stuff that I can talk about outside of YouTube. This is Bix Weir. I'll talk to you later.